All right, thank you everyone for being here. Welcome everybody. This is our 8-week intro, or the intro course to our 8-week upcoming Feature Bootcamp program. My name is Connor, and I'm the instructor for this course. So we've got a bunch of stuff to jump into and talk about today, so I'm just going to kind of go right ahead, but we'll be using Discord for this class, so if you're watching on our stream, for instance on YouTube or Twitch or something like that, then you can go to download Discord and join our server, scriptcamp.net. We'll give you the link, and you can participate by just joining into the general chat of this class. And this is a free, open class to everyone that's going to give you the impression of the kinds of things that we're going to be doing over the course of the next 8 weeks of this program. So let's take a look at what we have on our slideshow today. So like always, we're going to start with these slides that have some troubleshooting advice for things to do. If you're not sure how to be seen or heard on Discord, you can always go back and review these slides to look at a couple ideas for things that might be able to fix that problem. Let's look at this overview of what is ScriptCamp here. We are a screenwriting community that's focused on helping you take your concept from idea to first draft to more polished scripts. We have lots of free classes and events and workshops, as well as many paid classes for VIP members, as well as boot camps and writers' labs on weekends. A little about me. Those of you who have taken classes with me before know all about who I am, but I have been writing feature and full-length scripts for about 11 years. Moved to LA in 2015 with no connections at all, but got signed for the first time in 2017 when I placed in the top 10 of the Launchpad feature contest, and have since then placed in nickel semifinals, nickel quarterfinals, and have been repped and have had scripts set up at large production companies in town, which I currently have a thriller script set up. I teach these boot camps and also these weekly writers' labs, and a lot of the time when I'm not setting up features, I try to get by mostly doing rewrites of mostly smaller horror and thriller movies for production companies and writer-directors here in LA. So this is where I'll be like fixing drafts and stitching drafts together and clarifying the point of scenes and just making them into as strong a script as they can be before production starts. So that's a little about me. Let's look at what we'll be doing in the bootcamp and what the bootcamp is. We're going to take you from idea to a first draft in this bootcamp. That's using this step-by-step, very practical method. Every course uses sort of, every course that I teach, I should say, uses sort of similar methods and similar steps, because I always use the exact same steps every time that I am writing something new. And I am teaching my method of doing this, which emphasizes this organization and this very methodically moving from thing to thing. There's nothing sort of like mystical or intangible about this. I realize many writers approach this from the point of view of, you know, writing as art and as this kind of nebulous thing that it's impossible to fully codify or grasp. But I approach it more like you are, you know, this is a craft. You're making chairs all day, and you're only going to really get better at making chairs if you make a lot of chairs. Your first chair is not going to be an absolute masterpiece, so you have to just get the bad ones out of the way to get to the good ones. So that is sort of like, through this course, you will learn more about the methods that I use to just go from point A to point B to point C, and then move on to the next thing. The methods that I use to get to the point where I was getting signed and getting meetings and getting reps in Hollywood, and you can do the same. Just make sure that you keep the expectation in mind that this takes many years to get good at. No one's writing and selling and getting signed off their very first script ever, just like no one's doing their first painting and then asking, how do I get this into a museum? So this is more about building the skills than it is coming out with a product at the end that is going to get you any specific one tangible result. So our courses are 8 weeks for the feature, 6 weeks for the stage play, which is taught by a different teacher than me, who uses slightly different methods. So that's on Saturdays from 12 to 2 Pacific. From 2 to 4 Pacific. 12 to 2 is our rewrite class. We also have 4 weeks for the rewrite bootcamp, which is, again, 12 to 2. And then we have a pitch bootcamp, which we just started up as well last week, which we have some great pro guests on for, helping you sort of better communicate stories and most efficiently pitch the ideas that for things you have yet to write, or also pitch summarized versions of things that you have already written. So all just really essential skills when it comes to screenwriting. There's a lot more to this than just sitting alone in a room and writing scripts by yourself, though you do have to get really good at that part too. There's many other sort of social aspects of screenwriting that you have to know about, and just a ton of quirks and very just specific skill. It's like 9 jobs in one in some ways. So there's lots of things to work on in this class. The best and pretty much the only way to really exponentially improve that was going to be build a process for yourself by which you can start something new, execute it to the highest level that you are capable, and then rewrite it a couple times and move on. So remember, moving on and letting go of ideas is actually kind of a key skill when it comes to screenwriting to work on. Okay, let's look at the schedule for this class. So we'll, on our first week, which is going to be next week, the 22nd, we'll look a little bit more at why this story and sort of how you're choosing what you are actually going to be committing these 8 weeks to writing. As far as projects go, 8 weeks is not that long compared to novels or compared to a big musical or something like that, which might take years of development of various kinds. But you typically want to be able to conceive, outline, pre-write, and then write and perhaps rewrite several times, but you don't need to. Every script idea for a feature film within, 8 to 12 weeks. If you're spending more time on any script than that or any one individual idea, you might need to change up your process, and we can talk a little bit more about that today. But about 12 weeks per a feature script is what you should be aiming for. Obviously, if you have kids and a life and all these things that you have to worry about, then it might be longer, and you shouldn't beat yourself up too much if you can't always hit that. But try to build your skills to the point where you can write and turn out a readable, at least, draft of a script in around 12 weeks. You should, if you want to be a professional feature writer, you should be trying to write 2 to 3 features a year at the minimum. All right, so why the story? We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll be refining loglines and also just turning in. You can show us the pages of your sketchbook, which we'll be talking about today, what that is and how to fill that out. After that is outlining, and we'll be spending the first several weeks of this class on just organizing the idea and getting every part of the story nailed down as much as possible before beginning. You do not want to be stumbling around in the dark when it comes to writing screenplays, especially when you're working with producers or management or anyone else that is developing with you and trying to guide your story and give you notes on how they want it to be. You need to be able to present a bird's eye view of that story that is going to be more efficiently truncated and summarized and synopsized so that you can hand over a 1-page version of a document to somebody, or a 3-page version of a movie to somebody, or a 5-page or a 20-page, all before you even get into the writing part. So being able to spend these first couple weeks on just planning and refining the idea and getting everything in place before you write a single word of formatted text is so, so, so important when it comes to feature writing. So we'll do outlining 1 on the second week of class. Outlining 2 is going to be scene cards, focusing on scene cards for the May 6th class. The scene cards are a full paragraph for every single scene of the entire script, so you're going to know what happens on every page before you even begin formatting things. So it might be kind of counterintuitive to you if you come from a sort of more discovery-based writing background, or maybe you're more used to writing poetry or plays or books or something like that. But you really need to, if you're going to move into writing features, need to be able to nail down what is supposed to happen on every single page before you start. And obviously, there's always going to be some room to go off of that. There's not just one right way to do this. I'm sort of teaching my methods of doing this that I think are going to help you get into the skill sets that you need to be able to conceive, outline, execute, rewrite, and move on from script after script after script, which is going to take you, again, around 10-ish years probably to get to the point where you're ready to start selling or being repped. Okay, so we'll do these outlining classes in the weeks 2 and 3, and then week 4 will be about the beginning of the script. So from there on, you'll be writing about 20 pages a week. That's about 4 pages a day if you're writing on just the weekdays. 4 pages a day. It's might seem like a lot if you've never done this before, but you want to get to the point where that's no big deal for you and you can pull off, 4 or 5 pages a day in order to kind of most efficiently fit into the schedule that you've set for yourself. So we'll talk about beginning the script, what to do in the start, what to do in the first page, what to do in the first 3 pages and first 10 pages, which are all really kind of essential early benchmarks for, is someone going to continue reading this, or are they going to assume that you don't know what you're talking about and throw it away? And there's a lot of different ways that you can accidentally or perhaps on purpose damage this invisible bar of reader confidence that we have to keep as high as possible to make sure that someone is staying engaged, and also just feeling like they are in good hands when it comes to your read, because if your reader does not feel like they're in good hands, or if they're feeling confused, or if they're feeling like the writer does not really know what they're doing, then you will be in a lot of trouble. We'll also have chat on the left-hand side of the Discord window here, so scroll down to free bootcamp class, and you can use this to write in your questions or comments and points of discussion, and I can check this every once in a while for questions. And we can also, I will ask you if I call on you to unmute, so keep yourself muted normally, but if you want to ask a question on voice, just say so in the chat and I can call on you to do so. Looks like we have a pretty good sized group, so glad to have you guys all here. Let's look at our next slide. Oh, wait, what else do we have? Oh, yeah, so week 4 is beginnings. Week 5 is transitioning from first act to second act. Week 6 is the first half of the second act. Week 7 is the second half of the second act. Then our final week is going to be on Act 3, all the way through the finale, climax, and epilogue. So sort of finishing everything out. Remember, so that's going to be about 20 pages a week for the second half of the course. The first half of the course is all about figuring out what is going to be on those pages. You don't have to keep up with these benchmarks. There are no grades in the class. There's no, like, you're not going to get kicked out if you can't keep up or if you fall behind. And almost always, several students do fall behind, and that's okay, as long as we're kind of putting you on the track to finishing and giving you the tools that you will need to finish in your own time. Then I would consider the course to have been worth it. You know, there's always things that can come up, and you're not collaborating with anyone on this. This isn't the rewrite course, so don't worry too much. You're not really beholden to anyone else besides yourself. But remember that, again, the only way to get better, substantially better at writing scripts is to read a lot of scripts and to write a lot of scripts and finish them and move on. That's it. All right, so the draft should be done by June 17th if you're following along with the program. We also have lab, which is on weekends, Saturdays, from 4 to 6 Pacific time. We have these 2-hour, essentially office hours, where you can come in and ask whatever questions you have, any topics you want to hear more about, or things you have not been understanding in the classes. You can also bring in up to 5 pages of whatever documents you want me to look at and give responses to, even if it's just what's working and what's not working on the page here. You can bring pages in for that. You can say a specific scene that you're having trouble with, or maybe an outline for something that you're working on. Again, just don't go beyond 5 or so pages, or else I'm just not going to be able to have any time for anyone else, really. So, but, you know, depending on how many people show up, I can easily give you 10, 15 minutes, sometimes even more. So if you have questions or just need one-on-one help of any kind, come to the lab sessions. That's what they're for, weekends, Saturdays, from 4 to 6 Pacific. How to enroll. So if you've not enrolled, you can go to scriptcamp.net/classes and buy the course on its own, or you can start a free trial for the unlimited membership, which includes this bootcamp and all other ones, which is, you know, rewrite, TV, playwriting, pitching, everything else that we do here and everything that we're going to add is going to be included in that $49 a month unlimited membership. And the free trial is going to last you 2 weeks. So that's the first 2 classes. It's 4 hours free, and plus everything else that we do during the week, of which there are many other classes and workshops and things to attend. So there's a lot of value there. Here's our breakdown of what these different membership options include, which we won't focus on way too much today, but just do notice that even with the basic membership, you get access to the video library, which is recordings of every class that we have done. Like this one, there will be a recording of this that you can go back and watch if you want to just see something you might have missed in the class or want to check out what they're doing in a different class. You can always use that video library to do that, but notice basic does not include access to the lab sessions or things like that. So feel free to look at this breakdown on your own. Let's have just a bit of discussion before we go any further. Feel free to weigh in and tell us about yourself. What are your goals as a writer? What have you written before? Are you new to screenwriting, or have you been doing this for a long time? Feel free to use the chat or to unmute and tell us whatever you want about yourself.
Can I volunteer to go first?
Go ahead.
Hey, so my name is David on Discord. I am a recent immigrant to Canada. I came here for my tech degree. And yeah, writing overall really does. I think I started 3-4 years ago and felt like doing a tech degree might help get some money to fund this side. But yeah, it's something that I've been doing part-time. Hopefully I can go back home to India and get a few feature films done in a bilingual format as well.
Cool. And have you
and also yeah. Yes, I've written 2 scripts, one for a pilot show and one for a personal feature film that I want to do. And also I've been taking some ESL classes as well, trying to work on that. I think I've finished a lot of them now, and it's hard for people to tell, but like, yeah, writing itself, I haven't actually written in English until last year, like professionally.
Cool. Yeah, I've taught ESL, and you sound like a native speaker to me. So, I mean, at least you would have fooled me.
Yeah, it's probably the training and such, but like, yeah, when I first came to Canada, it was like uh, yeah, it wasn't the most fun. I wasn't the most confident writing it. I've only recently developed the confidence and the accent, I believe.
Awesome. Cool. Well, great to have you, David. Thank you for that. And yeah, if you are a non-native speaker, we have non-native speakers all the time in the camp, and also just in Hollywood, there are plenty of writers who are immigrants or just come from different backgrounds. So it does add an extra level of challenge to write in something that's not your native language. You do ultimately need to be able to write at fluent native level in order to write for Hollywood, or else you'll be in trouble there. But there are lots of other opportunities that come from just coming from a different background. It's very interesting to people in Hollywood to come from a different background. So there's downsides, but there's also
Yeah.
big upsides as well.
Yeah, it's something that I felt like, yeah, I want to be able to connect to both audiences from my native side, but also the Canadian market or North American market as well. So I thought before I actually get too professional into this, I wanted to develop skills in both sides as well. That's probably why I waited so long to actually get professionally into this industry as well.
Cool. Thanks so much, David. Looks like we have in the chat, we have someone. Okay, so he says, I'm Paul. I want to write movies. It's fun to experience a great story. That is very true. Yeah, very fun to experience a great story. And, when it's something that you're coming up with, you're kind of the first one to experience that story. So you can look at it that way. And also, just, we want to do this because we are sort of performers and we want to share what we have made with other people and have them enjoy it. So obviously, that's going to be a great reason to want to do this. We should all love movies, of course. If you, or for the feature class at least, if you hate movies and really want to write TV or something, we have classes for that too. But suffice to say, you should love movies and should be watching them all the time and should just be a big fan of them. So try to keep up with what's out there. Try to keep watching movies and TV, and just don't let your don't let the media landscape change too much without you knowing what's on, what's been done recently, what's been done well, what's popular, and just try to just start paying attention to that stuff. Logan says, I want to write TV, but movies are the bomb. Very true there, but I would say they're both the bomb. So, and Logan has been on our previous camps, and you have finished script with ScriptCamp, right?
Slacked off a little, so I'm not completely done my finale.
Okay, almost
week.
though.
But yeah, I'd say I finished the skip with ScriptCamp. I know.
Do you
The
have
format?
would you have any tips for people who are just it's their first ever ScriptCamp class? They've never written a script before. So as someone who has just gone through a whole program for the first time, any suggestions?
I know, ironic saying that I literally just have been kind of panicking and slacking off, but don't just or I mean, okay, the better thing to say is if you have problems, write a little note on the side or in your outline doc after, but there's the rewrite bootcamp for a reason. Stick work on your outline during the first 3 or 4 weeks, right? And your scene cards really well to the best of your ability. But during the actual writing, even if you're like, oh well, this doesn't really work that thematically, or these two kind of things are conflicting, I would just keep going, because especially if this is your first time here, it's probably your first time really playing around with movie dialogue and character interactions, that kind of stuff, which is already going to be difficult. So if there's kind of bigger things that still are probably an issue and you acknowledge it, just acknowledge it, but keep going, or it's gonna be, because 8 weeks,